Please welcome to the stage Kirsten Robinson and Ray Hessian from Amazon Web Services Canada.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so great to be here. I'm super excited. Welcome to the AWS Public Sector Symposium, Ottawa. My name is Kirsten Robinson, and I'm the Federal Government Practice Leader for Canada.
And I'm Ray Hessian. I lead our National Security and Defense practice here in Canada.
Before we begin, we'd like to recognize that Ottawa is built on unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. The peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. We honor the peoples and the land of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, and we honor all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people and their valuable past and present contributions to the land.
À tous ceux qui se trouvent dans cette salle et à tous ceux qui nous regardent en ligne, on vous souhaite tous la bienvenue au Symposium Secteur Public d'Ottawa. Today is an opportunity for us to come together, share knowledge, push the boundaries of what's possible in cloud. And we hope that you do just that as you take advantage of our full agenda. It's filled with essential talks, insightful discussions, and networking opportunities.
This hour is going to be like no other, and if there's one word to describe it, it's game-changing. What the past few years have shown us is that the world is transforming faster than ever. And over the next 60 minutes, we'll hear from leaders who have made game-changing decisions to help the public sector break barriers and drive positive change.
You'll hear from Lieutenant Colonel David Sarapins, a military leader who's using the cloud to transform mission outcomes. And you'll hear from Dr. Kumar Chellapilla. He's the AWS General Manager for AI and ML services. He's led engineering teams at LinkedIn, Lyft, and Uber, and he's now helping lead the next generation, the next wave of generative AI. And you'll hear from Colonel Chris Hadfield. Imagine that, a real astronaut here on our stage sharing it with us today. He's a true Canadian innovator, and he was the first person from this country to command the International Space Station.
Super excited. Yeah. Super excited. And you're going to leave this room full of ideas about how your teams can be game changers to create better lives for the communities that you all serve. Now, before we start, we want to acknowledge our platinum and silver sponsors. And you can stop by the Expo Hall to learn more about each one of them to help you on your cloud journey. In the expo hall, you'll also be able to ask AWS experts about anything related to the cloud, maybe even throw an axe. And for our sports fans, we've got a gaming section. Like, how fun is that? Where you can test your skills, you can play against other attendees, and learn more about how AWS is collaborating with sports leagues around the world.
I also want to give a shout out to all of our partners who've joined us here today. Nos partenaires peuvent vous aider à tirer pleinement parti des services d'AWS. Alors, prenez le temps aujourd'hui de rencontrer un partenaire lors du symposium.
We're here today because of our commitment to Canada. And earlier this year, our AWS CEO, Adam Selipsky, spoke about a planned investment of $21 billion in Canada by 2037. What does this mean for you?
Well, Kirsten,
Ray?
I think I can take that question. What this means for you is what it really means is investment in Canadian infrastructure. We're launching a new AWS region in Calgary imminently, and it's going to be covering you from coast to coast. And it joins our existing AWS region in Montreal, both of which will offer 3 availability zones.
And we're also launching 2 local zones, one in Vancouver and another in Toronto. And with these investments, AWS provides you with more options than any other cloud service provider. Whether you need to keep your data fully resident in Canada, or you want to deploy applications closer to your end users with single-digit millisecond latency, we've got you covered. And these are all priorities that we've heard from you, and we're listening.
Nous investissons également pour renforcer les compétences des organisations canadiennes, afin de nous assurer que votre équipe possède les compétences infonuagiques dont vous avez besoin. At AWS, we offer a variety of training options, from classroom training to 600+ digital courses on the AWS Skills Builder. These feature hands-on labs and role-based games. And all of this training is offered to help you and your teams earn industry-recognized AWS certifications. Alors, consultez ces programmes sur notre site web Formation et certification et commencez à apprendre dès aujourd'hui.
And we're also investing in the future of Canada's environment. In 2019, together with others, we founded the Climate Pledge, our commitment to be net zero carbon across our business by 2040. That's 10 years ahead of the Paris Agreement.
And recently, Amazon announced its first renewable energy projects in Canada. 2 solar farms in Alberta that'll generate 80 and 375 megawatts of power, respectively. That's the equivalent of powering over 500,000 homes, Canadian homes, for an entire year. And we do this because we're committed to the next generation, and we're committed to helping you improve the lives of the people you serve.
No matter what you're trying to solve for, we can help with our innovative services, and we're launching more all the time. In fact, last year alone, we launched over 3,300 services and features. These go far beyond simple storage and compute and cover the gamut from generative AI to virtual contact centers.
And this means that the platform you're using today just gets better, more agile, and more cost-effective as you use it. You can easily experiment and try new things, which makes it that much faster to deliver innovation for our communities.
And one organization that's using the cloud to deliver better services around the clock is the Government of Ontario. Its website, ontario.ca, is the trusted source of information for more than 14 million Ontarians. From Ottawa to Thunder Bay, people use ontario.ca across a wide variety of services, from real-time nursing care to applying for student assistance to finding a long-term care home for their loved ones.
There are, in fact, dozens of different services that run on ontario.ca with millions of users, which makes security and reliability essential. And in times of cost constraints, Ontario can scale its services to meet the spikes in demand, all while making sure that the site stays secure and always on.
And in the cloud, there's no upfront capital expense for servers or data centers. Instead, you pay for only what you need when you need it. And that means that the total cost of ownership is typically much lower than that of on-premises infrastructure.
And once you start using AWS, you're able to implement optimization levers that continuously reduce your costs. We offer frameworks and tools that help provide you more visibility and optimize your cloud spend while also making that spend more predictable for you and for your stakeholders.
Yeah, and one example of accelerating mission while saving costs is from the University of British Columbia. To power key research, they used Amazon EC2 Spot instances, which cost up to 90% less than on-demand instances. And by using Spot instances, the UBC processed more than 1 million libraries of next-generation genomic sequence data per day for an overall cost of less than half a cent per library. Pretty incredible, right?
It's unbelievable.
UBC researchers performed over 2,000 years worth of computing in just a couple of weeks, keeping their costs low. And by using AWS, UBC was able to focus on the science rather than the servers.
Now, we all know that speed matters, especially in emergencies like this year's wildfires. Their impact has been unprecedented. I'm sure we've all felt it at some point in time this last summer. And keeping them contained has been requiring fast and decisive action. In Quebec, the 2nd Canadian Division of the Canadian Army played a key role in the fight against these wildfires. And while working with AWS, they were able to rapidly deploy a situational awareness and command and control application, which was built and launched in a record 48 hours. Talk about game-changing. Before we bring out our next speaker to tell us a little bit more about that, let's watch this short video.
Digital technology is rapidly transforming our day-to-day lives. It is also rapidly changing how militaries accomplish their missions. The ability to collect, analyze, share, and act on information is an increasingly important factor in being ready for tomorrow's military challenges. In the information age, communication has become the most dominant factor. The most aware and connected army wins. In order to get there, the Canadian Army is undergoing a digital transformation. We're modernizing and integrating the command and control system that forms the backbone of how we operate. A modernized, integrated command and control system will give us key advantages. Better knowledge of the adversary and environment, and the ability to respond to threats more quickly. The Land Integrated Command and Control System Modernization Program is key to the Army's digital transformation that will keep us a dependable and agile fighting force and ally in the future.
Please welcome to the stage Lieutenant Colonel Dave Sarapins from the Canadian Army.
Ray, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Good day, honored guests, Canadian public servants, AWS. It's a privilege to be here today. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dave Sarapins. I'm the Digital Transformation Officer of 2nd Canadian Division in the Canadian Army. And yes, I'm wearing a kilt. And just like that tradition that I am continuing, the Canadian Army and the Canadian Armed Forces have a tradition of innovation that spans decades. The Canadian soldier is resilient. They are mission-oriented. They always find a way, even if they're not allowed to. We have been innovating throughout our history. Today I'm going to take you through a few stories. The first one starts off of the coast of Normandy. Lieutenant John McIsaac, a Royal Canadian Artillery officer, 23 years old, was a troop commander for self-propelled howitzers, tanks with guns. Instead of landing on the beach with the first wave of Canadian soldiers on Juno Beach, he stayed off of the coast, ingeniously putting his howitzers on the floating landing craft, floating gun platforms, firing over the heads of Canadian soldiers so that they could take this beach. People drive innovation, and using the advanced technology of the time and the ingenuity of the Canadian soldier, the Normandy invasion was successful. Fast forward to 2022, November. What are we doing today? With industry collaboration, with AWS, we were able to digitize a battle group. A battle group is a group of soldiers with tanks and vehicles and people on Exercise Maple Resolve, the largest exercise that the Canadian Army runs on a yearly basis. 3,000 to 4,000 soldiers deployed to Alberta. The newly formed Directorate of Digital and Combat Systems Integration organization within the Canadian Army facilitated this collaboration, facilitated by General Demers and Colonel Aaron Lunning. A champion was identified, Colonel Nicolas Lussier-Nivischuk, 39 years old, the commanding officer of 12 Régiment Blindé du Canada, an armored reconnaissance unit in Valcartier. We digitized this battle group. For 4 months, between November and May 22 to 23, AWS, the Canadian Army, Defense Research, 2nd Canadian Division, 5 Brigade, 12 RBC, all worked together to achieve this mission success. The deployment of AWS Edge devices, snowballs, to run the Team Awareness Kit, this battle management system that had never been used before at this large scale within the Canadian Army. This system allowed the commander to control and communicate and identify where all their personnel were at all times, augmenting the decision-action cycle of the unit. The referees of this exercise had to tell the commander of 12 RBC to slow down. They were running circles around their adversaries. Once again, people, a young leader championing innovation, achieved during this exercise battlefield supremacy, continuing this tradition of excellence and innovation. End of May 2023, Maple Resolve was in the bag. 2 months in the field with little to no showers. Everyone was ready for a well-earned summer rest. Colonel Lussier-Nivischuk returned to Quebec City, ready to hang up his uniform, take a shower. Forest fires in Quebec had other plans. Many soldiers went straight from this exercise to the front lines to fight this forest fire. True citizen soldiers. AWS support to Operation Lentis 2303 arrived on the 7th of June of this year. Their crisis response team deployed and communicated with our team to build this battle management system and deploy it as a service so that our soldiers can focus on the task at hand. The system was very similar to what our soldiers had used during the exercise in Alberta in the weeks prior. Within 24 hours, the Canadian Armed Forces security personnel approved access and use of this tool. Within 48 hours, we had the system operational. Lieutenant Alec McGuckin, somewhere in the audience, he's the other guy wearing a kilt, he showed up on a Saturday afternoon with me. AWS had set the system together for us. We uploaded it on all of the devices, and then we sent Sergeant Gaël Yvon north to deploy the system to the soldiers fighting the forest fires. Working with AWS, the Canadian Army, the CIO, we received the authorization to operate this capability at the speed of mission requirements. Within 96 hours, we were able to integrate NORTAC Defense, Track 24s, position location information, the Royal Canadian Air Force. I was able to see on my personal phone helicopters flying through the battle space, the operating environment. Soldiers were able to focus on the task at hand, fighting these forest fires, and not have to worry about everything else. The collaboration between our organizations resulted in rapid action. rapid deployment, and rapid success. And once again, people make the differences, where I see many similarities between the way AWS operates with the similarities that we conduct ourselves within the Canadian Army, with the focus on mission success. Work completed with AWS over the last 9 months is really shaping the way where we are going. If the conflict in Ukraine has taught us anything, we must and we are changing the way we move, communicate, and engage with our adversaries to keep Canada strong, secure, and engaged. To achieve this, we are actively collaborating with industry, defense research, academia, other government departments. I mean, I've had phone calls with multiple departments over the last few months, and everyone wants this. We need this, all to increase decision-making in a crisis at home or abroad. The CAF and the Canadian Army and National Defense are innovating. The establishment of the new Chief of Combat Systems Integration, led by General Daw. The establishment of the new Digital Transformation Office, led by Mr. Ross Ermil. And the CAF is even fortunate to have acquired a new CIO, Mr. Raj Tupal, sorry, Transport Canada, already making waves over the last few months. We strive for excellence. We can no longer accept the status quo, and we are finding the best partners to move forward in our journey, continuing in our tradition of ingenuity, mission focus, and resilience into the next decade. Thank you. It has really been a privilege and an opportunity to speak to you today. The future for the public sector in Canada is bright. The collaboration that we're achieving today is enlightening. And if you want to chat more, find me in the hallways, look for the guy in the kilt, or scan the QR code and reach out to me by email. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your symposium.
Please welcome to the stage Dr. Kumar Chellapilla from Amazon Web Services.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kumar Chellapilla, and I'm the General Manager for Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning at AWS. Thank you all so much for joining me here in Ottawa and giving me the opportunity to speak with you. I'm here to talk about something you've all heard about all through the last year: generative AI. We're entering a new era of technology. Generative AI represents a fundamental shift in the way we work and live. It has the potential to change how we do so many things if we use it responsibly. Generative AI will be a game changer, just like the printing press and the internet. Can you remember where you were when you first used the internet? I can remember it clearly. The first time I used the internet was in 1996 at Villanova University, about 6 hours drive south from here, where I was a grad student in electrical engineering. I used the NCSA Mosaic browser on a SunSpark 5 running Unix with a 9600 baud modem. And this browser was later renamed Netscape Navigator. Amazon was there too, as one of the first ways you could buy books online. And in the same way that we changed the game for e-commerce, we're transforming generative AI. When we look ahead, analysts estimate that the generative AI technology will increase global GDP by 7% over the next 10 years. Here are a few ways many organizations like yours are already leveraging generative AI and AI more broadly on AWS. One government team is building an application on AWS that lets citizens view different types of tax credits and deductions that users might qualify for. Other government teams are using generative AI applications to predict where wildfires, floods, or earthquakes might strike next, to warn communities and triage support. A made-in-Canada education technology company is using generative AI on AWS to help professors and teachers create quizzes and exams for their classes more quickly and easily. Organizations are saving time with generative AI, which is powering conversational search, text summarization, and code generation, among others, freeing up the staff to focus on more strategic initiatives and projects. The healthcare company AlayaCare is building a model on AWS that helps hospital administrators determine the risk of rehospitalization for their patients. Generative AI helps summarize the clinical notes from past visits to rapidly inform caregivers of what has changed since their last visit and help them identify patients at risk of adverse events like rehospitalization so that they can take focus to the highest risk patients. Now that you know what's possible, let's take a step back. What exactly is generative AI? It's a type of AI that can create new content and ideas, including conversations, stories, images, videos, and music. In essence, it's an AI that can create new content which is close enough to human-generated content that can then be applied to real-world tasks. The machine learning models powering generative AI, popularly known as foundation models, or large language models, are trained on massive amounts of data, sometimes with several 100 billion parameters. This should give you a sense for how sophisticated these models are. What makes foundation models special is that they can perform many more tasks because they contain such a large number of parameters, and this makes them capable of learning complex tasks and concepts. So why is this technology, which has been percolating for decades, seeing so much interest now? It's because we've reached a tipping point, the convergence of technological progress and the value it can provide. With the massive proliferation of data, the availability of highly scalable compute, and advances in machine learning, the generative AI is finally taking shape. For example, traditional forms of machine learning that have been around for decades have allowed us to take simple inputs, like numerical values, and map them to simple outputs, like predicted values. With the advent of deep learning about 10 years ago, we could take complicated inputs like images and videos and map them to simple outputs like predictions. And now, with generative AI, we can leverage massive amounts of complex data and capture and present this knowledge in more advanced ways, mapping complicated inputs to complicated outputs. Traditional machine learning model development required months of costly and manual data preparation, data labeling, and model training, all to produce a single specific task, or a machine learning model for a single specific task. The large models that power generative AI applications, these foundation models, are driven by transformer-based neural network architectures that significantly cut down on this development process. With a transformer architecture, models can be pre-trained on massive amounts of unlabeled data so that they can then be used out of the box for a variety of generalized tasks. These pre-trained foundation models can be easily adapted for particular domains or organizations with relatively small amounts of labeled data. This ability to easily customize a pre-trained model through fine-tuning is a game changer. It is substantially faster. It also requires less computation time and less data to fine-tune a model than creating a task-specific machine learning model from scratch. So while it used to take multiple people a long time to produce multiple models for different tasks, now we can use one big model and use fine-tuning to accomplish the same goal. Let's take a look at how the Allen Institute for Brain Science is using AWS services to help map the entire human brain and create the largest open source brain cell database in the world.
Very happy to be here with the Amazon team. and to tell you about a new collaborative project we're doing with AWS and Amazon AI called the Brain Knowledge Platform. One of the biggest challenges with studying the brain is its pure complexity. It's inaccessible to study. At the same time, there's a lot of data about the brain. It's not organized or centralized in a meaningful way. So the Brain Knowledge Platform is really a knowledge base about the brain and a discovery platform. We need this map to know exactly what goes wrong in disease and precisely where to target therapeutics. We've been working with AWS to bring machine learning tools to automate segmentation and other types of techniques to analyze the data in the first place, eventually to discover new insights that are not obvious from this data. Also, the generative AI side of things has some unusual possibilities for us. We'll be able to integrate data of many different types and to begin to make inferences that human researchers are not capable of doing. I'm a neuroscientist, not an AI specialist, but I think we can begin to imagine the new territory that we're entering with generative AI as it may be applied to neuroscience. We can begin to understand how the brain actually works and to harness this knowledge for the good of society.
AWS customers have asked us, how can they quickly take advantage of what's out there today and what's likely coming tomorrow, so that they can quickly begin using foundation models and generative AI to drive new levels of productivity and transform their products, and to do all of this responsibly. We've identified important considerations to quickly build and deploy generative AI applications at scale. First, we're making AWS the easiest place to build with foundation models. Amazon Bedrock is the easiest way for customers to build and scale generative AI applications using foundation models, democratizing AI for all businesses. Second, we're offering customers the flexibility to work with open source models or build their own foundation models via Amazon SageMaker. Finally, AWS remains committed as ever to build AI responsibly. For builders, Amazon SageMaker provides tools and services to define, measure, and mitigate concerns around accuracy, fairness, toxicity, intellectual property, and privacy. Amazon Bedrock offers the ability to access a range of powerful foundation models for text and images, including Amazon's Titan foundation models, through a scalable, reliable, and secure AWS managed service. Beyond Amazon's Titan, today Amazon Bedrock offers access to foundation models from AI21 Labs, Stability AI, Anthropic, and Cohere, all accessible via a single API. Bedrock also supports secure customization, keeping customers' data private and secure. Customers simply point Bedrock to a few labeled examples in Amazon S3, and the service can fine-tune that model for a particular task without having to annotate large volumes of data. Organizations across Canada are already experimenting with on AWS with generative AI, including with Amazon Bedrock and Amazon SageMaker. That includes organizations including AlayaCare and D2L. We're excited to see what they and you will build. Democratizing AI and making open source models widely available is a key priority for us. We want you to have the choice of the model that best fits your use case and needs. In addition to models in Bedrock, Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart is a machine learning hub where you can discover, explore, customize, and deploy even more foundation models. Jumpstart provides access to foundation models through environments you may already use, like SageMaker Studio, SageMaker SDK, and SageMaker Console. If you want to create your own foundation model, Amazon SageMaker provides managed infrastructure and tools to accelerate scalable, reliable, and secure model building, as well as training, deployment, and human evaluation. We all know how quickly the field of generative AI is moving. So to top it off, new models are added on a weekly basis. Generative AI has the potential to tackle some of humanity's most challenging problems, improve citizen experiences, and spur new innovations, all at a scale and speed that's never happened before. And with this huge leap in technology comes the recognition that we must all use it responsibly. That's why at AWS, we have a commitment to develop AI and machine learning in a responsible way. We focus on the complex questions that relate to discussions about fairness and explainability. We're also working to encourage and advance the science behind responsible AI. That's why we're a member of the Responsible AI Institute, a global member-driven nonprofit that's dedicated to enabling successful responsible AI efforts in organizations like ours. And we're honored to work alongside the Government of Canada, who's also collaborating with the Institute. AWS provides guidance and tools to help develop responsible AI. Let's take a look at some examples on how. For example, Amazon SageMaker provides tools such as SageMaker Clarify and SageMaker Ground Truth. SageMaker Clarify provides developers with purpose-built tools to gain greater insights into their ML data and models, and it detects and measures potential bias. SageMaker Ground Truth makes it easy to create high-quality prompts and data sets to gather human feedback so that you can evaluate and fine-tune your generative AI models. Now, human evaluation and feedback is key to evaluating and selecting the foundation model for your generative AI application. You need to pick the right one so that you not only achieve the highest accuracy, but also reduce bias and toxicity. Red teaming efforts can help identify and close critical gaps to ensure model safety. SageMaker Ground Truth Plus is available today with foundation and can be used with foundation models in Bedrock and in SageMaker Jumpstart. Now, if all of this sounds abstract to you, let's make it concrete with a quick demo. In this room, we have people from multiple sectors. But one challenge we all face is how we need to quickly analyze data and generate net new insights from it. How many times have you seen a giant document and have been asked to review it quickly? Yep, I see some nodding heads in the audience. If you're a public servant, you know that feeling. You need to prepare a briefing, and you have a mountain of material to review. Let's watch a quick video of a demo that one of our chief technologists gave last week at our symposium in Australia.
So I've jumped into the Federal Register of Legislation, because it's where I spend my time. And I pulled out the Financial Accountability Bill of 2022 to see what it could do with 111 pages of very important and no doubt fascinating reading legislation around that industry. I downloaded it to my laptop. And what I wanted to do is to see, could I summarize and get insight from this very, very quickly without it being trained on any data, just using an off-the-shelf model. And I deployed this using SageMaker, and here what you're seeing me do is choose a particular model. I used the Llama 2 model just because it was new at the time, and I wanted to see how it worked. And I'm uploading my file, and you'll see a picture of what it's doing in a moment here. And I've sped this up 3 times normal speed. This whole process, 83 seconds. It uploads the file to Amazon S3. It prepares it by calling Amazon Textract to tokenize all the information. And then it's using an Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart endpoint. It took me all of 15 minutes to set up to actually run the model. And what you'll see is this process doesn't let you have time to go make yourself a cup of coffee. Because in 84 seconds, what will come back is not just the information ready to be queried and some nice balloons, but a beautiful summary, like you'd ask someone to write for you about that legislation. That actually makes a lot of sense. It also suggests some questions you might want to ask. So for example, tell me about the concept of an accountable entity versus an accountable person. Sounds very legal and lawyery and kind of important. Again, one call. That's the actual function call I used to make this request using the document into the language model I'm running, because I don't believe in keynotes without code. And so again, this ran in only 44 seconds. So you can't even ask someone to get you a coffee. And it produced a really substantial and accurate summary of the information. Imagine what this can do in your workflow, in your environment. This is just a taste of what's to come. The potential here is enormous.
That's amazing, right? Hundreds of pages of legislation analyzed in seconds. Now multiply that by every document you need to review, and you start to get a sense for how SageMaker Jumpstart can be a game changer for your team and for the communities we all serve. So where do you get started? We have everything you need to begin working with generative AI on AWS right away. from a range of foundation models that give you the choice for your use case, to our new generative AI tools and services, to infrastructure that can power all of your computing needs at the speed and scale that you need, and access to education and training opportunities. We're here to help you get started and bring your vision to life. As a first step, I'd recommend checking out our just launched free and low-cost skills training courses on generative AI. For example, we recently released a training course on Coursera called Generative AI with Large Language Models, which was developed with AWS experts and AI educators. This is a great opportunity to build your capacity and your team's capacity by learning about large language models. You'll also get hands-on experience with selecting, training, fine-tuning, and deploying them to real-world applications. We have a lot more launching this year, and I'm excited to see what you can do to reimagine and transform your applications with generative AI on AWS. As I said at the start, this is just the beginning of a bold new era.